Well, thank you, Eric. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this the 2 hour that Free Radicals is going to be really, powerful, special. We're going to be talking about liberation across the board, queer liberation, the liberation of Palestine, right? The liberation of Sudan, the liberation of indigenous peoples, right? Liberation in general. So that's going to be really wonderful. And practice, we'll also be practicing as well. So please join us next week, next Thursday. And it's so good to see everyone here in the space. I am with you, joining you from London, where it is past midnight. So I can't be held responsible if I drift off into some kind of like, whatever, like drift off into some, ambiguous, unattached rant. But I mean, that's what I usually do anyway. So being past midnight is no excuse. So it's so good to see so many of you here. And I've been on tour, as many of you know, first in Portugal, which was really beautiful. We spent the eclipse out on the West Coast, which was really beautiful and powerful. And then spending time in Berlin, which was really, really quite intense in a really great way. It was my first time in Germany, in Berlin, and we had a lot of work to do. So lots of work to do, a lot of people joined me in the work, and the work there is just beginning, right? We talked a lot about, just the trauma, right? The trauma of the Holocaust, the trauma of fascism and Nazism, the trauma of, the Berlin Wall, right? And it's just, we did some good work there. I'm really appreciative for everyone who joined me in that work as well, and and all the challenge as well, and the dialogues that I have with so many people concerning what liberation, freedom really looks like right now, and healing, which is what we're doing here tonight, is the work of healing. And now I'm in London, and beginning to go into our retreat here, Spring Awakening, which is really wonderful. And afterwards doing lots of different events in and around London through mid-May. So I'm excited about that as well. But yeah, and for those of you who are new, I'm Lama Rod, just in case I'm becoming quite a celebrity these days. I'm an international influencer now. And yeah, I wanted to open with Nina Simone tonight. No one wrote a protest song like Nina Simone. Right? And particularly this song, Go Limp, which was, for me, the song is really about, what love and connection and belonging looks like in protest and organizing, and I'm also thinking about Jericho Brown. And Jericho Brown is a poet, Pulitzer Prize winning poet, Black queer man, Black gay man who also lives in Atlanta. We're in the same circles, but I haven't met him yet. And he said something really interesting on social media a couple of days ago, which is something I'm always thinking about and talking about, which is how do we find the joy in moments of crisis, right? How do we find gratitude in what feels like a lot of darkness and violence right now? And how our liberation work is also about staying connected to those experiences, right? And of course, I'm always saying those experiences are what helps us to experience the spaciousness within moments of crisis, within experiences of crisis, as well. That we talk about so much is happening, particularly observations. We have Passover, you know, um, starting tonight and commemorating, what and how, right? Um, the community of Jews, Hebrews, biblical Hebrews were liberated, you know, and that whole process of liberation, which of course, as I talk about also in New Saints, those same stories were also very important for my ancestors as well. The Exodus, right, which the Exodus lies at the heart of liberation theology as well. And liberation theology for me has been such um, an important influence on radical Dharma, also on my understanding of spiritual abolition as well, right? And really, what liberation theology is simply saying, um, and what is advocating really is that we all deserve to be free, basically, right? Which may be more of a dharmic lens coming into that, but we all deserve to be free, right? And if our freedom is dependent on someone else not being free, then we're actually not free ourselves, right? You know, everyone deserves to be free. Everyone deserves access to resources that they need to be well and safe and happy, right? Everyone deserves to have agency over the course of their life. Communities have a right to have agency, over how they are trying to understand freedom, as well. Um, and it seems like, you know, the deeper we go into this period and the more some of us wake up to, the reality of this period, the more we begin to understand that like freedom is something that actually you have to fight for, right? That that old cliche, freedom isn't free, right? In many ways, that's true because if we're looking at it through a dharmic lens, freedom is takes the labor of remembering that we're already free, right? It takes the labor of returning back to ourselves and ourselves being an experience of space, emptiness, energy, right? That remembrance, right? It's so interesting that it takes so much work to remember what we already are, right? But that is the project of Dharma, right? And that remembering is really about healing. It's about coming back to ourselves. Well, it's yes, coming back to ourselves, but it's also about remembering wholeness, right? That everything that we're struggling with, we actually don't have to struggle with, right? That the practice is learning how to hold space. And in holding that space, we disrupt reactivity. When we disrupt reactivity, then the nature of things come into focus. Like the nature of things comes into focus, right? This is spiritual abolition, right? Spiritual abolition is more than just the disruption of systems that prevent us from getting free. It's also about remembering our ultimate nature at the same time, right? And spiritual, and in this sense, right, um, we have to go beyond justice, right? Like we're trying to transcend everything. We're trying to transcend the whole duality, the whole binary, right? That's what I'm doing. And that's the point of the practices that I teach, right? Um, to go beyond all of this, to return back, to re-enter into a remembrance, to awaken, right? To obtain enlightenment. I mean, this language is very common, right? Um, and sometimes you have to leave people behind to do that, right? And again, I consistently evoke the the example of Harriet Tubman, of Mother Harriet, right? You know, Mother Harriet couldn't free everyone, you know, but she had a huge influence on liberating all Black people, right? And continues to do so, actually, right? Um, there's that we in Berlin, we talked a lot about paradox, you know, because I was working mostly with a lot of activists, and how do we begin to hold paradox in our practice, and liberation work is full of paradox, is full of contradictions, right? Um, one of those big contradictions, is found in some of the basic prayers, may all beings be free, or one particular prayer that we would always say in the monastery, which is, um, may I not get enlightened until all beings achieve enlightenment, right? Which is not possible, right? You will, if you are on the Bodhisattva path, you will achieve enlightenment before many beings do, right? Um, but you use that paradox to actually create this intensity in our practice that we must get free, right? You know, that we keep praying, we keep working, we keep returning, right? Over and over again. And as we do that, we are actually awakening more and more, right? So once you really get going on the Bodhisattva path, it's like sliding down a slippery hill. It's like, how do you stop sliding down a mountain of ice? Right? It's really impossible, right? But that's what it is. Like the momentum increases and deepens when you start actually caring about the liberation, not just yourself, but for all beings. And that becomes this force. And that force is what starts galvanizing and inspiring and pulling, beings around you to get them going, and focused on freedom and liberation, right? No one being can save every being um, trapped in samsara, right? But beings can come back and do their work to support as many beings as possible. In the same way the historical Buddha emerged within this particular time period, and awakened and created this path of Buddhism, right, which has deeply influenced and probably been the cause of many beings. I can't, quantify that at all. Thousands, I don't know, right? Um, but even if the Buddha was responsible for one being achieving enlightenment, that is actually extremely significant, right? But I think the Buddha did a little more than helping one being get awakened, right? And that's the best that we can hope for, right? Because there are so many other beings who must also come online and to do their work, right? Again, this is like a pyramid scheme, like a good pyramid scheme where everyone wins, everyone gets a benefit, but like what the Buddha did was awaken all these lineages of beings, and then they awaken beings, and so forth and so on, right? Um, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I've done everything that I can do, and then you pass on. You maybe pass back into nirvana, you pass back into, another part of the universe, whatever it may be, right? Because samsara is just one thing that's happening among countless things that are happening in the universe, right? Samsara isn't the main show. Samsara is like one of those random channels you get on your TV, the like action channel for like 50s movies, like those random channels. you know? Um, but like that's really how it is. Like this is just one pin drop in the massive expanse of the universe. But this one pin drop is enough to get the attention of some beings who are like, well, this shouldn't exist. Why are beings absorbed into this experience when they can actually be invited back into the fluidity, the expanse, the boundlessness of the universe itself? Right? And this is the work that we're doing. you know some of us aren't as lost in this as we think we are, right? Which is a lot to take responsibility for, you know and so much of where some of us get stuck is we get stuck in our victimhood as well. We get stuck in the illusion of not having power and agency, and we find a lot of comfort there. And that comfort partially is about, maintaining this belief that our freedom depends on other people, when in a Buddhist sense, it doesn't. My freedom depends on me actually choosing awareness, right? Choosing to get clear, choosing to care, right? Um, and this is why I converted to this practice. This is why I'm here, because I found it extremely healing to be told that if I wanted to get free, I needed to choose that. You know, and I talk about this, I'm talking about this more and more, but like just really highlighting the point that most of you haven't chosen freedom. Yeah, you haven't really chosen to get free. You're kind of going through the motions, right? And until you choose freedom, you just keep cycling, within samsara, within birth and rebirth and death and old age and disease and heartbreak and despair. You just keep circling within that, right? Until you choose a different experience, right? That experience of remembering what we are. And when you choose to remember, when you choose to get free, you will lose shit, right? And some of you aren't ready to lose shit, right? You're not ready to let go of you know um all these things that you're self-identifying with, right? Like you're not ready to really choose the labor of getting free, right? Of shaking off all these things and actually starting to awaken, because we're so attached, to the drama, right? We're so entertained, right? um And I feel that, there's a really tangible way that that works itself out, or expresses itself in the world. It's just like how we get so distracted by pop culture and entertainment, and then you have this group of activists who swoop in and say, listen, hooray for your excitement for Taylor Swift's new album, or Beyonce's new album, right? Hooray for that, or the new season of our favorite show. Hooray for that. But then can you balance that with the realization that people are dying, right? That the world is slipping into this kind of fascism again, that things are crumbling, that these systems that we desperately rely on, like capitalism, is crumbling. Right? How do we again, as I was talking about at the very beginning, when I was talking about, Jericho Brown, like how do we center the work and not get distracted by the other shit? you know and again, I love to have fun, don't get me wrong. I am, I'm into pop culture like any other young person, like any teenager. I can match in terms of pop culture. And also look at what I've done to get free, you know? Like, look at what I've done. And and I'm really saying that and putting that out there now because I don't have to hide that anymore. Look at the labor that I've done, right? Look at what I've produced. Look at my practice. Like, look at how I've struggled, right? Yes, I can get really involved in pop culture. I can get really involved in music. I love Beyonce. Cowboy Carter's like, I think her best album. Absolutely. I can go all off on that. And then the next breath, I can talk about trauma, right? I can talk about the unseen world. I can talk about the ancestors, right? I can talk about what I do with most of my time, right? Which is dedicated to getting clear about the nature of reality and helping you all to get clear. You wouldn't be here if I hadn't done this work, right? So it's flipped for me, right? The work is centered, and then the entertainment is secondary, right? And the entertainment, right? The fun shit is how I am restored in order to return to continue to do this work. You know? Just like we talk about our great agents of change and liberation. Whereas I keep going back, right, to Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman had things she loved to do. Like Harriet Tubman had like a personal life. Harriet Tubman was married, right? Harriet Tubman had a home, right? Harriet Tubman took a break after the Civil War. We don't talk about that. We don't study that. Harriet Tubman said, "I'm a woman with needs." you know, right? So in any case, this is all really related to the work of healing because healing is liberation for me, right? I think something that, we're going to get into our practice in just a moment. Um, but it's again reminding you that Medicine Buddha was an activist, right? That healing and medicine was actually deeply related to social issues and political issues. And we've studied that before in Medicine Buddha Tantras. The 12 aspirations of Medicine Buddha were really about social and political freedom, right? How can people heal if they're living within systems and structures that prevent that healing, that prevent medicine from getting to the people that needed that medicine to get to? If people were hungry, if people were not sheltered, if people didn't have the resources that they needed, how did people heal? You know? So this is inherently political, right? You know, um, and this is it. This is what we're signing up for. You know, um, so it's we will get to a point where nothing will be able to be bypassed or avoided, right? And we get closer and closer to that experience every day. No matter how no matter how wonderful Beyonce and Taylor Swift are, like there will be a moment where you will not be able to use anything, not even the most powerful drug, right, to bypass the reality of things, right? And this is what we practice for, is to hold the space for even the thing that we're terrified of, the thing that we're most terrified of. That's what we're practicing for. And for most of us, that's death that we're most terrified of. And this is the medicine. You know, you're like, oh, I came here to Medicine Buddha because I wanted to get healed and I have all this stuff. But this is actually the medicine that Medicine Buddha is offering, right? You know, like the truth, right? There is no greater medicine than the truth of things. And the truth will actually disappoint you. You know, the truth will be disappointing because the truth isn't about supporting your belief in self or ego. It's about transcending all of that, right? That's the medicine that Medicine Buddha is offering us. It's the nature of all phenomena beyond the dualities and the binaries, right? Beyond identities, right? So let's start. Let's get into this. Granted, I need to figure out what time it is. I don't want us to just stay here for 2 hours because I will be asleep within 2 hours of practice. Um, it was almost 1 o'clock here.
50 minutes, Queen.
Okay. I don't spend after midnight teaching Dharma. After midnight, it's time to be out in the streets, honey. Um, I feel like, you have to read the prologue of my book to understand what happens at midnight. Um, so beginning, we're gonna get into our mantras as well, and I won't be, of course, I won't be using a drum because I'm sharing a house um, with some friends here in London in their sleep. so, um, so beginning and turning our attention to our motivation, our intention for practice. And this intention is to get free. And what does freedom mean for you? And what does it mean for the communities that we're supporting? And it's okay if you feel limited in this part of our intention setting. That's fine. Right? But even just having the intention, may all beings, may everything be free, is just enough. That's enough. To dream into what that freedom may actually feel like, it's a whole nother practice that we'll get into as we move deeper into this work. But again, it's hard to want everything to be free when you don't believe you can be free. And this is very, I would say, even simple magic here, right? Imagining freedom and then offering this experience of freedom to all beings in this moment. May all beings be free. May all beings be liberated. May all beings remember. feeling what that awakening aspiration feels like in your body. May my body be free. May my mind be free. And may the freedom that I'm experiencing in my experience radiate into the whole world, into this realm, into this universe. May everything be free. May plants be free. May animals be free. May all phenomena be free. May the rivers be free. May the lakes and the oceans and the mountains and the sky be free. May earthbound spirits be free. May the deities be free. May the dakas and dakinis be free. May the bodhisattvas be free. May the person and the people and the beings I don't like, may they be free. May the person I hate be free. And may I be free from the hate itself. May my ancestors be free. And may the people who hurt my ancestors be free. May my descendants be free. May our histories be free. May our trauma be free. May our imaginations get free. Right? May my brokenheartedness get free. May my hopelessness get free. May my despair get free. And make this a practice. Right. Well, we're continuing, but I want you to remember this practice in your personal practice. Just sitting and wishing freedom, aspiring for freedom for yourself, for all these beings, and just naming and listening. Right? Everything that comes to your mind, may it be free. May everything be liberated. And the more we do that, the more we become attuned to the nature of things, to the nature of our minds, which is the nature of all phenomena, which is emptiness, right? And space and energy. When we see the violence on TV and the genocides and the war, in that moment when we see those images, we say, may we all be free, especially those who are most impacted. May they get free. May we be free. And as we continue, just shifting your attention, just touching the seat, noticing the seat, and noticing the weight of your body and the seat rising to hold you. And beneath the seat, the earth, the land. And if you haven't offered gratitude for anything today, I invite you to offer gratitude for the land, for the earth. Without the earth, without the land, there's no freedom, there's no liberation. Right? And the land and the earth, more than just the physical land, but the consciousness of the earth, of the mother. Right? The energy of the element of earth, which spans and cascades through all realms, through all planes of existence. This element of foundation, of structure, right? The element that helps us to do, to create, to make. The earth element is the foundation for that. Something has to be molded and created, and the earth element is what's being shaped and created and molded. That's the earth element is what holds the structure of what liberation is. So offering this gratitude to the land, to the earth, to what the earth holds and what the earth has experienced. And when we offer this deep gratitude to the earth, it begins to expand into all the elements, into the water, which transforms, which offers us vision and insight, which helps us to dream and imagine, to flow, to dance, to move, to fire, which is to transform, to transcend, to communicate, to light, to the air and the wind, and the space that holds the air and the wind. When you're ready, shifting your attention back up to the heart center, and even bringing a palm up to your heart center if that feels appropriate. And of course, the heart center, this, this kind of, I would say, headquarters, right? Energetic headquarters of empathy, of love, of compassion, of feeling, of connection. In Vajrayana, in Tibetan Buddhism, the heart center represents not just the heart, but also the mind. So care and clarity are represented here in this tradition. Now I invite you just to connect to how all the elements are merging together, braiding together within the heart center, feeling the structure, the density of earth, the warmth of fire, the flow of water, the fluidity and spaciousness of air. And as we are imagining this and experiencing this in the heart center, we turn our attention to the first of our mantras, Om Namah Sangye Kino Soha. And we're going to chant this 3 times, but we'll begin by chanting Om, and then chanting the mantra 3 times, and then ending with Om, an elongated Om to open and start. Okay. And again, Medicine Buddha, please think of me. Please look upon me. Right? But as always, the word kino, which is often translated as to know, let that verb be what you need. So what do you need from Medicine Buddha right now? From Minla Sangye, the Medicine Buddha, what do you need? Right? What do you need from this Buddha in this moment to look upon you, to hold you, to bless you, to heal you, right? To disrupt the rigidity of despair or hopelessness or the overwhelming grief. What do you need right now? Let Kino become what you need as we start our chanting practice. And again, starting with so taking a breath with me. Om. Om Mazange Kino Soha. Om Mazange Kino Soha. Om Lasange Kino Soha. Om. And so within our heart centers, again, maintaining some of this attention in the heart center, I invite you just to reflect on this work or the experience of healing. Healing. What does healing mean for you? Just for you right now. What does healing mean for you? What does it mean to feel whole, to feel reassembled, to feel in balance? What does wellness mean for you? What does groundedness feel like? And as all of these images, these impressions, these ideas come into focus, allowing them to actually slowly begin to dissolve into the emptiness of your mind, like sugar dissolving into warm water, like you're trying to make your sweet tea back home in the South, allowing this phenomenon just to dissolve into the warmth, the emptiness of your mind. And for a moment, our awareness just floats, is held by this emptiness. There's nothing to cling on to, there's nothing to think about, it's just abiding within the open, boundless emptiness of everything. And from this emptiness, we slowly begin to imagine the awakening of Medicine Buddha. And the presence and energy of consciousness of Medicine Buddha slowly beginning to arise for us in whatever way feels appropriate for us in our practice in this moment. And we can slowly begin to imagine that Medicine Buddha begins to awaken within our heart centers, feeling this image, this presence, or just a trust that Medicine Buddha is awakening, just feeling that happening within our heart centers. And we begin to slowly imagine that this experience of Medicine Buddha slowly begins to lift, to rise up through our heads, like coming out the top of our heads and emerging and hovering just above our heads. And again, you can imagine Medicine Buddha and Medicine Buddha's most iconic form, right? Or the representation of Medicine Buddha that feels appropriate for us. And if none of that works, just believing that Medicine Buddha is somehow hovering above our heads. And the Buddha hovering above our heads is such a traditional form of practice in the tradition, that the Buddhas are always above our heads, just hovering above, always connected to us no matter where we go or what we do. And this Buddha, this Medicine Buddha above our heads, we imagine that they begin to glow and radiate this intense white light. And this white light flashes throughout the whole world. And as this light flashes through the world, this light begins to collect and dissolve all the suffering from illness and violence and war and misunderstanding, all the hate, all the sadness. That this light collects this and dissolves it within its own brilliance. And that light is recollected. It comes back and dissolves back into the Buddha above our heads. And that same light of cleansing, of healing, begins to slowly descend and pour slowly from the body of medicine Buddha above our heads, and that slowly begins to pour down into the center of our heads, down into our bodies. That this healing light, this healing medicine begins to slowly fill our bodies, beginning to dissolve, beginning to cleanse, beginning to bring so much of our experience, both physical, spiritual, energetic, mental, all these experience, bringing everything back into balance, into stability, into groundedness. And it's not just working with the physical body, but it's working with the energetic body, it's working with our karmic bodies. So experiences of the past are beginning to be healed. Any potential experiences of the future are beginning to be healed. All the experiences of this moment are beginning to be healed. That this healing goes all the way back into ancestral healing. The healing of all of our past lives, the healing of all of our potential lives to come. Allowing that medicine to flow, even into experiences of ourselves that we can't even articulate. Just let it flow, let it go, let it be. And as we do that, we turn our attention to our main mantra, Tea Tao Bekense, Maha Bekense, Rasa Sumo Gate Soha. And you can chant, you know, along, or you can just sit and listen. Whatever you decide is fine. But we'll begin. O Tea Tao Bekense, Bekense, Maha Bekense, Rasa Sumo Gate Soha. Bekense, 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 brazo sungate soa. Bekense, 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 brazo sungate soa. Bekense, 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 raso sumungate 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 soa. 대한다운 백은세 백은세와 백은세 나는 수같이 쏘아 대한다운 백은세 백은세와 백은세 나는 수같이 쏘아 대한다운 백은세 백은세와 백은세 나서 숨같이 쏘아 대한다운 백은세 백은세와 백은세 나서 숨같이 쏘아 대한다운 백은세 백은세와 백은세 수수문같이 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 쏘아. So we're gonna go into another round of mantra work before I get to the prayer request. I will offer the prayer request. But in the second round of mantra, this is something that was coming to me that I needed to offer to you. So in this second round, I want you to imagine that as this mantra is really kind of digging deep in you, as this medicine from Medicine Buddha is still kind of pouring into you, doing this really intensive healing. I want you to imagine that everything that you no longer need slowly begins to be kind of like offered from the body. And so you can imagine that in different ways, but you can imagine that all the stuff, the trauma, the despair, the hate, the anger, for instance, all that begins to actually kind of flow out of the body down into the earth, where the earth will actually absorb it and quickly neutralize it, right? So as you're releasing this energy, it's not impacting the earth, right? this energy is just energy. Our relation to this energy is suffering. An awakened beings or an awakened consciousness relationship to this energy, like the consciousness of the earth. An awakened consciousness only sees energy, not suffering, just energy. So our releasing of this energy is like a drop of water being added back to the ocean, right? It's water returning back to water in such an insignificant way as well, right? So in this next mantra that we'll do for a couple of minutes, I want you to really imagine allowing this energy to leave, to float out of the body, to drain out of the body into the earth, letting it go, right? Because that's where some of you are really stuck. You are not letting shit go. You're holding on to it and self-identifying with it as something that you inherently are, and you're not. These are just experiences that have to flow, that have to move. So trust the practice in this moment to allow that flowing to happen. Okay, we'll continue again. 오 태양다운 백은새 마백은새 나는 수문같이 쏘아 태양다운 백은새 마백은새 나는 수문같이 쏘아 태양다운 백은새 마백은새 나서 수문각제소와 대한다운 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 백은새 마백은새 나서 수문각제소와. So turning our attention to the prayer requests, and again, calling to the space, our space, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the Yadams, Dharma protectors, all the beings of light, all realms of angels, all spirits and guardians connected to the physical, natural world, all benevolent animal spirits, as well as all benevolent ancestors as well. We call into the space to offer these prayers. And we pray to you first to accept these prayers and to work on our behalf as we continue to practice to bring about what we so deeply need to see for ourselves, for our beloveds, and for our communities and the world. We're offering prayers towards the recovery from multiple myeloma, bone cancer. Offering prayers for myself and my husband who are having a difficult time in our relationship. That we be more loving and open-hearted and patient with each other and have the strength to deal with what is both are for our highest good. Offering prayers for my pissed off heart. Offering prayers that my symptoms ease and I can cope with my anxiety. Offering prayers that L may feel my love and care. Offering prayers for my dear friend who is going through grief and loss, love and tenderness as she navigates this new way of life. Offering prayers for my family that they may continue learning to let nourishment in and each continue down their paths towards liberation. Offering prayers for myself that I remember I'm free in the face of generational addiction. Offering prayers for the relationship of Nia and Zell. Offering prayers that I may get more and more connected to my guides and the experience of unity. Offering prayers for abundance that I may sow it and weep it. Offering prayer for Miss Pam and family as they mourn the sudden death of their beloved son and brother Joshua. Offering prayers for me that I can soften my gripping of fear, stress, resistance, and open my heart and trust. Offering prayers for my dear wife and children as they navigate anxiety and depression. Offering prayers for my dear brother and his wife as she faces the end of her lifetime. Offering prayers for all beings whose hearts are heavy from grief, loss, trauma, and violence. Offering prayers for my children that they feel loved and appreciated. Offering prayers that M's depression lifts. Offering prayers for a good start to my partner's job. Offering prayers for myself that I may be healthy. Offering prayers for all in search of freedom. Offering prayers for Nick and his new experience with stage 4 metastatic colon cancer, along with Willie, his partner, who has her own health struggles as she cares for him. May they each find connection, health, ease, and growth during this period between each other and their own individual lives. May this be a path to freedom for both of them and all who love them. Offering prayers for Richard and his manic episode, that he find his sanity, that he welcomes and receives help, that he stabilizes quickly without damaging his own brain, his relationships, and those relying on him. Offering prayers for L, M, G, and my friends who endure mighty health struggles. May they find peace, safety, care, and the support that they need. Offering prayers for myself as I process shame and the deep innate behaviors I have created for myself. Offering prayers for healing from cancer for Nicole, Nellie, and Kathleen. Prayers for the healing of Daniela and Alexis's marriage, and that Alexis may do the work he needs to repair harm. Offering prayers for my love and I to find a path toward radical yet gentle healing and forgiveness. May our most wounded younger selves find the safety and care we need. May we have a fresh start for our relationship and our liberatory work in the world, grounded in humility, mutual respect, and kindness. And offering prayers for the health of Jenna, Trisha, and John. Prayers for all newly born babies. Offering prayers for healing from my migraines. May I understand the causes of my suffering and act in my best interest. Prayers for courage as I embark in new projects and as I become more myself. Offering prayers for slowing down and metabolizing trauma and community. Offering prayers for Larry Durgan, who unexpectedly entered the bardo last week, leaving behind his young wife, 2-year-old daughter, and 1-month-old son. Prayers for his aunt, my friend, Kit Durgan, and for the entire family as they hold a service for him tomorrow. May they find all the resources they need to hold their grief. Offering prayers for Landy A., who is having surgery to remove a large aneurysm on his carotid artery on April 30th. Offering prayers for my children and grandchildren, may they find all the resources they need to thrive and help others do the same. Offering prayers for the parts of all of us which are crushed by colonialism, white supremacy, the degradation of Jesus' teaching, and lost our felt sense of connection and trust in our experiences of the unseen worlds. Offering prayers for myself as I fully turn towards my experiences and put down the things I have been using to distract myself. Offering prayers for everyone here this evening and everyone in the booming community, prayers for myself as I navigate mental health struggles. Offering prayers to trust its offering prayers for trust to find its way home to me. Prayer that my medical procedure tomorrow go well. Prayers to find the right work for my body and mind at this time. Prayer for Patrick as he moves through cancer treatment. Offering prayers for the wolves that are being viciously trapped, tortured, and some instances killed in great numbers in the states where they have no protections. May the hunters come to be sickened by their own behaviors and discover the great value of these beautiful creatures. Prayers for those with chronic illness, especially my friends whose pain I pray to always meet with patience and understanding. May we continue to learn new ways to care for each other. Offering prayers for those in hiding, may they know peace and safety and good health. Offering prayers for the earth to be lovingly restored. And offering prayers for my family as we continue to grieve the passing of both my aunt and my uncle in the past couple of months. I'm offering deep prayers of healing for those closest to me who are in their own health struggles, including Reggie Hubbard, as well as Yasmin. We continue to pray for the liberation of all beings. We continue to pray for all of us who are on the front lines of liberation work in our protesting, in our demonstrations, in our organizings. May all those who put their lives on the line be deeply protected. May those whose lives are always at risk because of war, genocide, exploitation, may they be liberated from these systems, and may these systems themselves be abolished as quickly as possible. And may all the beings in all the universes and all the galaxies come together and aid in the liberation of violence in this world, in this moment. May we remember our innate awakened nature, but most importantly, may we remember our own bodhisattva nature. May we remember that we are indeed new saints, that we have the agency to bring about the world that we most need right now, a world where all beings experience safety, care, access to resources, love, happiness, right? And may this happen as quickly as possible. And may we eventually one day all remember who and what we are. May we all be free as quickly as possible. And turning our practice back to our mantra work and releasing the energy of these prayers out into the space around us, into the universe, and trusting that all of those who've gathered to hear these prayers, that they begin to work on our behalf. And as we go back into our mantra, just beginning to, if we can, beginning to radiate the energy of this medicine from our bodies, from our experiences into the world, that we begin to bring about what we have most deeply offered prayers for in this moment. 오 태양다운 배현세 배현세와 배현세 라스수 같이소아 태양다운 배현세 배현세와 배현세 라스수 같이소아 태양다운 배현세 백연제가 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 제야한다운 백연제 백연제가 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 제야한다운 백연제 백연제가 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 제한다운 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 제한다운 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 제한다운 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 한자훈 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 한자훈 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 한자훈 백연제 백연제와 백연제라서 수문 같았소아 대한다운 백연제 Begenze, ma begenze, asusumun gatisoa. Jayana begenze, 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 asusumun gatisoa. Jayana begenze, begenze, ma begenze. asusumun gatisoa. And when you're ready, just releasing this last kind of emanation and flood of light into the world to help bring about what we've offered prayers for. And when you're ready, turning your attention back up to the Buddha, the medicine Buddha hovering still above our heads, and thanking the medicine Buddha for their blessing for our practice. And slowly, medicine Buddha begins to dissolve into white light, and that white light is absorbed down through our bodies into our heart centers, where that light just actually dissolves right into our heart centers. The last blessing for our bodies. When you're ready, connecting again to the seat, to the weight of the body, to the earth under us, coming back into this moment. Maybe beginning to offer some slow, simple movement back into your bodies. We turn our attention now to Shantideva's prayer, which you'll find in the chat. And we'll recite this 3 times. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. And then just imagine a bell, ding dong, ding dong. Um, so something that, I don't want to keep us any much longer, but something that was coming up for me in the practice that I feel like I want to share with everyone is that, you'll never You won't ever get free being so pissed off. And I think someone needs to hear that. I think someone offered a prayer as well to that extent in the prayer request. But like listen, I wrote a whole book about it. But like, I don't want to get into the whole book right now. But like the anger will stop any freedom, liberation, any real healing from happening, right? And for those of us who have survived individual violence, systemic violence, historical, ancestral violence, like it's so easy to hold on to that because that anger makes us feel so powerful. In a way, it vindicates us, right? But like anger isn't there to heal us. It's there trying to point us back to where the healing work needs to happen. You know, like you won't like anger. I mean, again, most of y'all have read Love and Rage. I don't want to have to like rehash the book again. You can read that on your own. But like, you know, someone needed to hear that. I can't say who, but like, I just feel like anger isn't, we're not trying to get back at people. Like, we're not trying to make people hurt as much as we're hurting. That's not the point. The people we think are creating the violence, we can call them Netanyahu, we can call them Trump, we can call them whatever, right? Like their freedom isn't about us weaponizing and hurting them, weaponizing our pain and hurting them. It's about them needing to get free from the pain and which they're weaponizing against us, right? Um, and when you let go of that anger again, as I talk about in the book, you're going to feel vulnerable, right? But that's what the healing is going to feel like, vulnerability, like. And then in that vulnerability, we're trusting community, we're trusting both seen community, physical community, but also our unseen community and protectors to protect us and to hold us. This is when you call on Medicine Buddha. Like this is when you call on the ancestors who can help. Like this is when you call on our deities and so forth, right? To hold us as we're tapping into the vulnerability, but the vulnerability is just us finally coming to a relationship with the brokenheartedness, right? And it's always reminding you of what Whitney Houston said. It's like, it's not right, but it's okay, right? Like, this is what I mean by justice and freedom. Like, sometimes you would just have to do shit that isn't fair, right? Like, you just have to do shit. Like it's not fair that my ancestors were enslaved, but it has to be okay because it happened, right? And now I have to say, okay, it's not right, but it's up to me to make a choice to heal and to help my ancestors to heal and to work together to create this collective healing, right? The hurt, the pain, the despair, and this is the one thing that I've been seeing since I've been away and talking with people. It's just like the heaviness, the brokenheartedness, the trauma, like everything, the despair, right? This is what I say when I talk about how we're already free. Like we're already free because this is just a moment, right? And I know it feels like forever. I know it feels like maybe it's been, years and years or centuries, but like this is actually just a moment, right? And we have to understand the essence of this moment, right? And that this moment is something that like we're choosing, actually. We choose the suffering because we have forgotten we're already free. You know, it's like you're just, it's like you're just going through your day, and then someone turns on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then all of a sudden, like, all the attention is in this drama. That's how I understand the situation. Like, we got a little distracted. We got pulled away from the space and the fluidity, and we got kind of trapped by this little ripple of something we thought was happening, and then all of a sudden that sense of self is built, thoughts, emotions, all this comes together and creates this illusion of self. And we're trying to undo that now, right? So when I talk about how we're already free, like, we are already free. We have to start choosing that state of freedom, that experience of liberation. This is what Buddhism is trying to do, right? And as you choose freedom, you're not bypassing anything. You know, one thing that, like, is so entertaining for me is then when people go online and they'll read, like, the Wikipedia definition of Buddhism, and then they'll roll up and try to teach me Buddhism. you know, and I'm like, okay, just repeat that Wikipedia page, right? Just tell me everything that you just read, and people roll up and they're like, well, you should be transcending ego and everything. And I'm like, well, that's a misunderstanding. Like, that's the difference between a practitioner and a scholar of religion. Like, I am a practitioner of religion with training and scholarship, but I am not a scholar of religion. I chose that consciously, right? Because experience is what's going to get me free, not my knowledge, right? That's why I'm no longer in the academy. I was like, there's a whole lot of violence in Buddhist studies. And you're just like, aren't we supposed to be doing the opposite of this rigidity and this, but what do I know? I was just a Lama, right? Um, yeah, the experience, right? And this is not to say this is not an anti-intellectual talk as well, because I read a lot, right? But always, as you're studying and reading, right, always remember that at the end of the day, it's about practice, that your study should inform the practice, that the study isn't the practice of liberation. The experience, the awareness, the care that we're awakening, that's how we get free. Right? Even now, right, we're in this age of decolonization, right? And it feels like everything's falling apart because our world has been built around these systems of colonization, these carceral systems and logics that we have begun to self-identify with. We are collectively identifying with these things. And now that these systems are being disrupted, it feels like we're dying, that we're falling apart, that we're coming undone, right? And we have to switch, right? We have to, like, switch that track at some point and say, no, I am not falling apart. The systems that I self identify with are falling apart, right? Like, democracy isn't falling apart, colonialist systems are falling apart because we never actually had a democracy, right? And so as things fall apart, we start getting glimpses of what's possible. And that's why I feel really hopeful right now. There's so much pain, there's a lot of death, and there will be more. Right? And this is what it takes to give birth to a liberated future. And this is why I gave this teaching in Berlin, and people were just like almost passed out when I said, and I almost passed out. I was like, I can't believe this just came out of my mouth. But I just started talking about how, like, the apocalypse is a sign of good merit. Everyone was like, what? And then I was like, what? What did I just say? but it is, like, it's just like, there's somewhere to go. Like, there's potential. That's why this is full of merit. This moment is full of merit because this is what change feels like, you know? And this is what we begin to hold collectively and individually. So, like, what you're not just holding your experience, you're holding collective experience as well, right? We're having to do emotional labor for folks who don't necessarily have the capacity to do that or never had the capacity to do it. So we're doing all this labor, but this is what collective care and collective liberation is, right? You know, we take up the work that people aren't able to do, and we do this on behalf of everyone, right? And it's not just like humans, but it's everyone. Everything and everyone is lifting right now. Spirits, deities, ancestors, the elements, everyone, everything is lifting, right? Um, and that's what I again, I feel very excited about that. The practice that we just did, the practice that every time we get together, we're doing this intense lifting together. And this is why group practice is very important. Like your individual practice is really important as well. But when we come together in a group like this, it doesn't matter if we're online or in person, like we begin to pull all of our labor together and it begins to multiply, right? So we together in this small group become a force that does this incredible lifting. And our force joins the force and the labor of all these groups that are practicing together across not just this physical realm, but across multiple realms. There are beings practicing for our world, right? And they don't have to, but they are. And that's what a bodhisattva is. A bodhisattva doesn't have to be here, but they choose it because they love the world. They love people. They want people to be free. That is all that compels a bodhisattva to enter into suffering, to help others when they don't need to. Right. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share. It is such a blessing, absolutely, to be in practice with everyone, right? And lastly, to say that like the core part of our activism right now is witnessing and remembering, you know, remembering. And this is why I was telling the Germans, I was like, y'all forgot, you know, and now history repeats itself, you know. So we can't forget. And because we don't forget, we are consciously choosing different responses. Right? Everything has to be brought into consciousness. This is just how it is. Everything must be revealed in order for us to figure out how to respond to it. Right? No more hiding anymore. I think that will be difficult, but that's what healing is. The wound has to be exposed for us to figure out the medicine. Right? So anyway, thank you all so much. I'll see you in a couple of weeks again as well.